Thank you for joining this short training on how to register voters and answer basic voting questions related to the November 2024 general election in Franklin County, Ohio. My name is Elizabeth Grieser. I'm with the League of Women Voters of Metropolitan Columbus. We are a 104-year-old organization focused on nonpartisan voter registration, and we aim to give voters resources to make informed decisions at the voting booth. We're going to go over who can vote in Ohio, how to register a voter, the 3 ways to vote in Ohio, and end with some general nonpartisan resources where voters can get more information about the voting process. In Ohio, you must be a U.S. citizen to vote and be a resident of Ohio for 30 days by Election Day. Since the voter registration deadline is always 30 days before Election Day, anyone who fills out the registration form by the deadline will be an Ohio resident by Election Day. So you don't have to worry too much about that requirement. Another requirement is that you be 18 years old by Election Day. That means that you can register a 17-year-old to vote as long as the person's 18th birthday is on or before November 5th, 2024. Finally, in Ohio, an individual with a felony record may register to vote as long as they're not currently incarcerated. So while an individual is incarcerated for a felony, their name is taken off the voter rolls in Ohio. They need to re-register after they're released. And also, just to let you know, individuals on parole or living in halfway houses are also eligible to register and vote. The next 3 slides are close-ups of the hard copy voter registration form for Ohio. This form can be used to register voters in all 88 counties, but it should be sent to the County Board of Elections where the voter resides. So this form can be used to register a voter for the first time, to update a voter's address, or to update the voter's name. This first part of the form requires the voter to check that they're a U.S. citizen and will be 18 years old by Election Day. The voter will then fill out their name and address along with their ID information, which includes their birthday and either their Ohio driver's license number or the last 4 digits of their Social Security. They don't have to fill out their phone number, which is number 11, but it is a good idea so that the Board of Elections can contact them if there's any problem with the form. The middle portion of the form is to be filled out only if the individual is updating their address or they have a name change to report. And finally, the bottom portion of the form requires the voter to sign and write the day that they're signing. So if you're assisting a voter in completing the form, you may write or mark all of the parts of the form and answer the questions for the voter, but you may not sign the form for the voter. After they've filled out the form, please take a few minutes to look it over for some of these common mistakes. A voter must put down a physical address. The Board of Elections cannot process a P.O. box. A voter must also list their county, and many voters get confused and think that they need to list their country, but it's really their Ohio county. Finally, please make sure the form is legible. The staff at the Board of Elections can only process forms accurately if they can decipher the information. So if you're returning someone else's paper registration form, you have 10 days to do so, and you'll be returning that to the Board of Elections for Franklin County at 1700 Morse Road. These forms can be either mailed or turned in person at the office's front desk. If you're registering a voter within 10 days of the voter registration deadline, which this year is October 7th, you will need to submit the forms by the registration deadline, even if that falls inside the 10-day period. So after a voter has completed the registration form, you'll want to let them know the next steps. Within 20 days, the voter will receive acknowledgement in the mail from the Board of Elections, letting them know that they're registered and additional information about voting, like where their polling location is. Since 2017, Ohio voters can also register or update their registration through the Ohio Secretary of State's website. The information asked online is the same as the information we just went over using the hard copy paper form. This is a really great option, and it works really well for most voters. One caveat is that if an individual does not already have a profile within the Ohio government, like paying taxes or having a driver's license, they won't be listed or found within the Ohio government system. So that means online voter registration won't work with some young voters or individuals who may have recently moved to Ohio, and they'll have to fill out that hard copy form. We also encourage all individuals to check their voter registration, which can be easily done online. This will let a voter know if their address needs to be updated within the system or if they've been taken off their voter rolls, which can happen if they haven't voted in a number of years. Now that the individual's been registered to vote, you may want to let them know about the 3 ways they can vote in Ohio. The first is at their polling location on Election Day. This year, that'll be November 5th, 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. They can vote early in person at the Franklin County Board of Elections office. That will begin October 8th. Generally, hours are Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. There will be additional hours the weekend before Election Day, but there will not be early voting the day before Election Day, which is Monday, November 4th. And finally, we have absentee or mail-in voting, which starts the same time as early in-person voting, October 8th, but you must apply for mail-in voting by October 29th. This chart shows when a photo ID is needed to vote. Ohio recently changed its voting laws in 2023 to make for stricter laws for voter IDs needed to vote in person. For Election Day voting and early in-person voting, a voter must show one of the following IDs, which is the Ohio driver's license, Ohio issued state ID, US passport, or several options for military ID. Birth certificates, utility bills, bank statements, and other bills are no longer accepted as voter ID. This chart shows when a photo ID is needed to vote. If the person does not have the acceptable form of ID, they can use absentee voting with a mail-in ballot. Absentee voting is a multi-step process. A voter will first need to fill out a hard copy application form and mail it to the Franklin County Board of Elections. Voters will use their birth date and the last 4 digits of their Social Security or their Ohio driver's license number as their ID for this form. A voter can request that a ballot be sent to any address in the United States. It doesn't need to be sent to the voter's address on record with the Board of Elections. This election cycle, the Board of Elections will begin to mail ballots to voters who have completed this application on October 8th. And did you know that mail-in ballots are the first ballots to be counted on election night after the polls close? What's on the ballot in Franklin County in November? It's a lot more than the presidential race. We encourage voters to research and get familiar with down ballot races. Much more than the President of the United States will be decided in November, and these are just a few examples. If a voter is looking for additional information or sample ballot, there are a number of great nonpartisan resources, including vote411.org, which is the League of Women Voters site with nonpartisan candidate and issue guides based on a person's address. There's Election Protection, which is a toll-free number in various languages. Anyone experiencing problems while voting or in the voting process is encouraged to call this number and report problems. And finally, we have Vote Riders, which is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that assists individuals in obtaining the appropriate voter ID. Finally, the Franklin County Board of Elections is a wonderful website where voters can look up their polling place, voting record, and get additional details on absentee and in-person voting. That brings us to the end of our training. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn about assisting voters in Franklin County.